and welcome to Something's Off with Andrew Heaton. I'm your host, Andrew Heaton, and your tomatoes are delicious. I mean, they're always good, homegrown, but really, these are just, you knocked them out of the park. I can't even go to the grocery store anymore. In fact, I will look at it with unyielding, unwavering contempt when I see their lesser tomatoes compared to your tomatoes. Hey, it's Friday. The week is done, at least the work week part of the week. And so that means we're going to do a Friday release valve. If you're new to the program, Friday release valve is where we drop any pretense of trying to be thoughtful or substantive. We did that in spades the earlier part of the week. So now we're basically just doing a candy bar for your commute home when you go off to have more fun this weekend. And I'll bring on my guest in a minute. She's one of my favorites and will be funny and everything else. But before we do that, we always have to pay the bills, which means a word from our sponsor. Something's Off with Andrew Heaton is brought to you by Meat Bullets, the quickest, deadliest way to deliver meat in a straight line, period. You're an avid hunter, and you love everything about it. The crisp dawn, the orange hats, communing with nature, and then subsequently killing it. Sometimes you wish the grid would go down so you could hunt all the time. But then you laugh and realize that would be terrible, because if the grid went down, you couldn't play Buck Hunter over at Smokey Joe's anymore. Or play Duck Hunt, your favorite Nintendo game, which you play on the old TV screen you tied to your dashboard so you can squeeze in a couple of games on your way to work every morning. Yes, sir, you sure do love hunting. Now it's Saturday, and you've slipped out of the house and headed into the woods. Alert, calm, and peaceful. You climb into the camouflaged pillbox you like to shoot deer from. You take out your rifle and load in a few rounds of non-edible lead bullets and wait. Around noon, a buck tiptoes into your line of sight. A glorious stag with antlers that stretch from here to next Thursday. Quietly, and with the utmost concentration, you take a bead on his neck and fire. It's a direct hit. The stag topples over, and you emerge from the pillbox to survey your handiwork. You walk up to the steaming pile of uncut venison and think about just how much money you're going to make off of all that deer horn. That's when the buck's eyes snap open. They're blood red from anger. Winston Churchill once said, "Never mistreat deer by halves." And he was right. That deer wants revenge. It lowers its head and charges. You sidestep it like a Spanish bullfighter, and thank God you do, because those antlers are sharp. It turns around for another pass, but you've already pulled out your trusty Swiss Army Luger from your back pocket. Right between the eyes. The deer drops. You creep up to it, Luger drawn, and investigate. It's really, truly dead. You drag the carcass back to your car and strap it to the roof like a bleeding Christmas tree and head home to show the missus. It's about the time you get onto the highway that you hear something tapping on the roof. It's the deer! He's still alive! All of a sudden, a hoof plunges through the pickup's sunroof. Damn it, you say. You even talked to the guy at the car dealership about this. I don't want a sunroof, you said. What if I think I killed a deer, but I only stunned it, and it wakes up strapped to the top of my trunk and then tries to come in via the sunroof? The car dealer had laughed and laughed, and now here you are with a Servine Rasputin trying to kick you in the face, and that car dealer's nowhere to be seen. Well, you reach into your glove box and pull out another Luger, and then indiscriminately fire it at the roof of your car. Then, stillness. You ride in silence back to the house where you gut the deer, dress the carcass, and put the hulking slabs of venison in your freezer. You don't think about the deer much after that. Until you get sick. Your skin turns pale, you can't sleep, your hair gets thin. You go to the doctor for a series of blood tests. The next day, as you're playing duck hunt, the doctor calls. "I have bad news," he says. "You have lead poisoning. I don't know how or why you could get lead poisoning in this day and age, but somehow, some way, lead got into your food, and now it's working its way into your brain. You've only got a handful of hours left before you go crazy. Looks like you should have bought meat bullets when you had the chance." Meat bullets aren't just delicious, high-protein snacks delivered with deadly precision and velocity. They're also a foolproof way to go hunting without getting lead poisoning from lead bullets, which is how people get lead poisoning. Your family will say, Thank you, parent, for this delicious deer burger with traces of garlic peppered beef in it. And thank you for caring about us enough not to accidentally kill us with lead poisoning. Meat bullets from Delicious Munitions. Ready, aim, snack. My guest today, one of my favorites, Andrea Jones-Rooy. She is a semi-frequent guest on the program, but did you know she's a comedian? In fact, that's how we know each other. We know each other as funny people. Welcome back, Andrea.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. So I thought we'd kick around. Yeah, we'd kick around some head. We'd skip. You know, it was either we were going to come on and talk about how Chaucer influenced early colonial politics in regards to the Mueller investigation, and then I was like, you know what? I'd rather talk about snot otters, and so we're going to go that direction. So shall I kick it off?
Honestly, all day I was like, thank God I'm just talking about snot otters later. So yes, let's do it.
I guess I like this. It's a good way to cap off the week because we've got plenty of substantive stuff earlier on, and then I like having this. So the first story of the day: snot otter emerges victorious in vote for Pennsylvania's official amphibian. This is my favorite story of the entire week. I'm thrilled about this. If you're not familiar with the snot otter, listeners, snot otter, they're not actually otters. Well, like you might think. They look kind of like a big slimy salamander. I don't know a whole lot beyond that. I know they have a lot of nicknames. And this is honestly what I want the government to do most of the time, is just hold referendums and argue about nonsensical stuff like this. Because if it's divisive, then it's like, oh, that's hurting social capital and make everybody mad. But if they're getting substantive, they're like, hey, we should build a giant, I don't know, some boondoggle. So I feel like this is a fairly easy thing, and I'm glad they did it. What do you think, Andrea?
Yeah, well, the first thing I did, I agree with you on the social capital, and the first thing I did was I searched the Mueller report for evidence of a reference to snot otters, because I was like, this might bring the country together, but he really missed the opportunity.
I'm actually kind of surprised that didn't creep its way in. That it's someone at some point during the Trump campaign had not referred to somebody else as a snot otter.
Exactly.
That just tells me.
And with the level of detail,
they need to get more creative in the synonyms they're using for malicious statements.
I know. And I also was like, how do you say snot otter in Russian? Is that part of this? And I got, real... Exactly. Yeah. No, and I think a snot otter is a nice sounding thing because it does make you think of otter, and then it also makes you think of huge boogers. And you're just like, what else could there be to think about when you think of Pennsylvania,
shots fired at Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Look, I used to live in Pennsylvania, so I'm
really? Where did you live?
Things. Yeah. I lived in Pittsburgh.
Oh, you live okay.
Snot otter capital of the state.
That is the snot otter capital of the area. I've hung out. So when I worked for the House, I worked for Tim Holden, who was from the Harrisburg area. So I know Harrisburg, and I know like Hershey and Pottsville pretty well, and it wasn't in our district. But have you ever been to Centralia?
No, but that sounds like a gross leftover after you murder somebody.
Centralia. Yeah, Centralia is
the crime scene was covered in Centralia. You're like, oh God, gruesome.
Centralia sounds like a true crime podcast describing trails and things like that. No, Centralia, it's a town in like or I guess it was a town in north central Pennsylvania, and it was a coal mining town, and the coal mine caught fire in the 70s, and it's still going. So they've had to evacuate the entire town, and the only people left are the people that refuse to leave, that are living in the hills on either side of it. So you can go, you can drive through it, and it's about the closest thing to a Cormac McCarthy novel I've done so far at this point in my life. There's graffiti, there's smoking holes around. It's kind of it's post-apocalyptic Pennsylvania. It's
just sort of like The Road in an ongoing state, like the book.
Yeah. Cool.
Well. And that kind of puts the Notre Dame fire Notre Dame, fire in perspective, because, that thing only lasted like what? Less than a few hundred years?
It hadn't been like 40 years worth of that. That's true.
Yeah.
So to go back to the whole state animals and all that kind of thing, I really like it when they do this. So recently, bison became the national mammal. So bison is officially the American mammal. You can, when you look at a bison, feel patriotic.
Interesting.
And then on the state level,
I feel at two things about that. One, hasn't it always been the bison? And wait, did we do this and I somehow missed the news? Like, I both am like out of the loop and not surprised by this information.
I think the bison. So this had been brewing for a while. Like there's some robust make bison the national mammal lobby. that has been...
Who's doing that? Yeah, okay, fine. All right.
They've been pushing that for a while. So I feel like we all knew the bison was the national mammal, but now it's official and we can start putting it on I guess we already had it on nickels. I don't really know.
I was going to say, I'm picturing the nickel. I don't know what they thought was new here.
Maybe.
So what do you get by having a state whatever? Because I'm with you. I think it's cool. And I'm from Maryland, and we have a state bird. I don't know what the state
you know what Maryland's got that's awesome, though, is, I'm not making this up, the official state sport of Maryland is jousting.
Hell yes.
Which, hats off Maryland.
Yeah, that's some high level. Having spent much of my life in Maryland, I have to say I've never seen any jousting nor discussed jousting. But, maybe it's just happening in parts that I haven't been to. It is a sprawling state. So
that's true. The wide expanse of Maryland. My biggest problem with Maryland is
the dialects, just across the state. It's all the languages are barely mutually intelligible. Yeah. So it's probably a lot of jousting.
Kicking it to another expansive thing, we'll jump over to England. Judge summoned for jury duty at hearing he would conduct. So there was a judge in England, and he got jury duty. I was reading the story, and he felt it would be inappropriate to preside over a trial that he was also a jury member in. He wrote to the jury selection panel and said, hi, I don't think I should do this. And they actually turned down his request to not do jury duty. So I do appreciate the rigid standards of the jury duty panel.
Yeah.
It was like, sorry, buddy.
We're sorry. Yeah, duty calls. So nice try.
Nice try going to law school and becoming a judge. But then they did say that he can appeal to the resident judge. And he's like, well, I am the resident judge. Which sounds like the beginning of a Gilbert and Sullivan operetta, where he now begins a monologue about the weird British procedural orders he has to go through in order to get out of jury duty.
But by his own ultimate decree at the end of the day. I both picture a Kafka novel, but set in UK jury rooms, which sounds amazing. Hold the rights on that. That's an amazing film idea right there. And also just a snake eating its tail.
Yeah. Well, I like that you went to a snake eating its tail. I went to I immediately pictured
a snot otter eating its snot. Whichever.
Or a snot otter eating its snot, which is the state seal of Maryland.
That's right. Yes.
or I guess Pennsylvania more accurately.
Well, we replicate Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's true.
We're kind of the jealous younger brother.
Probably touch. I don't know.
They may, yes. But if only there was some famous historic line that were named in some way that defined the word. I don't know. Just a thought.
So when I thought of immediately like an old Flintstones episode where the judge would go, oh, excuse me, I'm just going to use the restroom, or hold on, I'm going to use the loo, and then he would slip out, pull off the wig, put on a fake mustache, run into the jury and go, all right, what did I miss? And then he'd just go back and forth, which would make for a fun trial, which is ultimately the point of justice.
Well, and it sounds like under UK law that would be 100% legal and really applauded for the commitment to serve.
Well, I've seen Benny Hill. I know how British people think. I feel like that could fall into jurisprudence under an English court.
Yeah. I watched part of Sherlock last night, and so I understand that people in England can conjure equations out of thin air. So
they're very good at math. Yes. They're really good at math. I think it'd be funny if they gave the Queen jury duty and just would not let her out of it, and so she had to go sit. I bet she would. She seems like a nice lady.
Do you think she gets the $40 a day or whatever it is in pounds, 6 cents?
I wish that she would not only do it, but then they'd forget to pay her, and she would insist on it. Where she's like, look, it's the first time that I've worked in a non-regal capacity in 50 years, and I want my money.
They're like, and what do you mean this doesn't include transportation to the courtroom? This is insane.
Did you see?
Have a whole reform.
Did you see that her husband got his driver's license revoked because he sideswiped somebody?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I did not see that. I accidentally unsubscribed to my UK royalty traffic news, and you're reminding me that I should get back on.
Well, the royalty traffic website has really declined in content. I mean, it used to be all about royalty traffic, and then it kind of got into World War II and Hitler, and then it turned into alien conspiracy theories, and now it's just a bunch of stuff about storage and pawn shops.
Right, but it was a very unrespected early form of the internet in World War II that no one appreciated.
That's true. I agree.
Yeah. We are busy fighting, but there is some way to talk to each other by typing, and we're confused by it. All of this, I'm impressed you thought of the Flintstones, which now I'm thinking of as, I was like, history, the Flintstones. I thought of last week when I failed to show up for jury duty myself.
Oh, good. You got a jury duty story. Go.
Yeah, well, it's not a very good story. It's mostly a story of me being an idiot and maybe bureaucracy being flawed, which is I got a big thing in the mail that said, you must report for jury duty. It had a big date on it, and it said, do not call until the day before, and then call this number. And I knew for months that I wouldn't be able to go because I'm teaching a class, so I was going to apply for an extension, right? And then I go to call on the day for the extension because the number said, whatever you do, do not call until the day before. And I called, and they said, if you want to file for an extension, you have to call at least 1 week ahead for an extension. And I was like, I think I might be committing a crime, but also I don't understand paperwork. And so I'm waiting. Either nothing happened. I eventually tried to email them, and I think emailing the government is one of the most insane things a human can do and expect a response. So you may never hear from me, and this may be the end of it. Or I should just volunteer to be the judge.
Oh, do that.
That's what I'm learning.
If they call you up on it, just be like, look, I'm sorry. I'm a British judge.
I'm presiding over it.
I can't do your jury duty. I think your email's gone. I think there's probably like an email tap line that just goes to the bottom of a lake, and all the emails dribble into it, and archaeologists will find them in the future.
And that's any email that ends in .gov.
It's you need to have someone's very specific name. If it's like jury duty at newyork.nyc.gov.
Well, it was .gov.net, which I assume makes it more official.
.gov.net.prodigy.com is a pretty standard one. It's where most of my business deals from. I haven't done jury duty. I actually kind of want to do it. Like
I wanted to too, so I'm kind of disappointed.
I got because I suppose I'm probably registered here in Texas now. I don't know how to go about doing that. But when I was in New York, I think New York, most states do it off of voting rolls rather than driver's license.
I think so too.
I got called up in New York a few years ago, and like I was kind of because I feel like the court is like the last thing that Americans don't have just unwavering contempt for. Because like if I'm ever hauled in front of Congress,
wavering contempt.
The
American people.
We because like you see all these polls all the time that the dropsy and gout rank higher than Congress does. And
consistently,
the White House.
To be fair, dropsy is widely underrated. Even at
that's
that.
true.
But yes.
People forget about all the benefits of dropsy. Yeah,
you forgot about dropsy. Think of that. Yeah, that's just a little sponsor for you to reach out to.
But I have this conversation almost every time there's a congressional inquest where they drag someone out so that people can make basically campaign bites for donors. Regardless of the issue, because there's always I always watch that and go, I would be held in contempt of Congress so quick. Whereas like a court, I would come in and like I was very quiet and respectful and everything. And then they solved it without me they released me very quickly. And because I was also looking forward to like a really good knockdown, drag out a campaign to become jury foreman. That was what I thought my week was going to do. And nope,
you were born to
be
jury foreman. Yes, if I may say. Yeah.
Yep. That's people. Yeah. People meet me. They frequently say that. A lot of dates end that way, where they're like, "You'd make a good jury foreman. It was nice to meet you."
Don't call me again. But has anyone ever told you? Just as jury foreman. I feel like I'm in the presence of a foreman.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I thought it'd be cool. And I was certain that I would go in. People were sending me tips for like how to get out of it. You know, you've got to da-da-da. No, people were sending. One person mentioned to me, I don't have friends. Okay. One person was like, you could, seem biased and they won't. But I thought I would immediately just be on my best behavior, be super unbiased. I like your tie or don't I? I don't know, Let's see.
I think they I never got into the stand thing where they ask people, can you do this? But I'm told that I'm told that they ask citizens to buck up. Where like they're like, Has anybody ever been in a car wreck? And someone's like, I've been in a car wreck. I got to go home, I guess. And the judge will make like direct eye contact and be like, just to be clear on this, you do not believe you're ethically capable of being objectionable in this situation. You're incapable of it. And the person will be like, I can do it. Which I like. I like that there's still shame in this one branch.
We bring shame back into this.
Yeah, we need more shame. We've got plenty of hate and contempt.
We might.
I just want love and shame. That's all I want.
Well, shame requires. Now we've just made this a serious political conversation, but in defense of shame, it does make you admit that maybe you might be a tiny bit wrong. And
That's true.
We could use a little bit of that.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, because we're veering dangerously close to substance, I'm going to swing right back to another story. Yeah. So in Tennessee, sheriff says mine-resistant vehicle from the feds is primarily to show the kids. So this is, if you're unfamiliar with this, there's been a couple of federal pairing programs between, I don't know whether I think it's Homeland Security, it might be the Defense Department, entirely possible that it's both. They'll pair up with local government and go, hey, you're a cop, do you want a tank? And it's a fairly regular thing for I assume Hutchinson, Kansas has a tank or an armored vehicle or something that the mayor can use. So it's fairly regular. And I used to be of the opinion that this was just massive government waste and a bad way to militarize unneeded offices. But now I'm kind of thinking, what if we went the other direction just as hard as we could? This is in, I think, Greene County, Tennessee, and just anyone with any municipal job in Greene County, Tennessee gets a tank. What might happen is potential enemies would go, like, their dog catcher literally drives a tank? This seems like, I don't know what they're...
comptroller? This could be anyone.
I don't even know what an ombudsman is, but the ombudsman has a machine gun? Let's just attack Canada. Canada seems like lower-hanging fruit. Let's go for them.
Well, if you're a jury foreman, do you get to at least rent one?
100%.
I don't know.
I think either way.
A lot of great places this could go.
If you're a jury foreman, you should at least get some sort of siege warfare, like something you could ram down a door with.
Some kind of militarized, or armored something. Yes.
Yeah.
No, this is great. And think of the the lack of unwavering contempt you'd start to see on the streets if does this extend to the postal service?
No.
I mean, I was going to say maybe they already have those, but no, I saw someone in New York pushing down a canvas bag on wheels on the street.
Yeah, no, they're fine. I just, it would probably raise the respect levels for dog catchers, I think, if they had tanks.
Yeah.
You'd be like, man, like Greene County, Tennessee, they do not, I hope you're not a stray dog in that county because their dog catchers have landmines and things.
Well, I hope they still run out of the tanks with those goofy nets from cartoons.
Yeah. You still got to catch them.
Catchers use.
You still got to grab them.
Are there dog catchers still? Is that a thing?
You know what? I don't know because I guess they have animal services, right? I volunteer at Dallas Animal Services here in Dallas. Not surprising.
Thank you for doing something nice.
Oh, you're welcome.
I go to the Dallas Animal Services here in the
you go to the Dallas branch in New York.
Yeah, that's why you don't see me around.
I got to say, New York City is really just like losing the competition for animal services. I mean, Dallas has really just expanded everywhere. They're in Maryland and New York and parts of Canada.
Yep.
Dallas is just everywhere. So I volunteer. Thank you. I'm not actually being nice. I just really like dogs and I really want to get one and haven't decided to. I'm going to get a dog. I bought a dog bed.
Okay.
I was at the grocery store.
Did you just walk away from saying pull the trigger?
I was going to say pull the trigger. And I was like, well, with all the tank references we're making, that just seems like.
Does Dallas Animal Services know about this trigger happiness of yours?
Is he going to just adopt dogs and euthanize them? No, that's not what I'm going to do.
Yeah, he did do an extensive thing about meat bullets recently.
He did. That's
we
true.
don't know how to think about this at all.
You're right. Yeah. You know what? When I volunteered, or when I tried to volunteer initially for Dallas Animal Services, I failed the background check. And I was just heartbroken, and I was worried that maybe it was like a political thing. And I called them and was like, hey, and I was very nice. I was like, hey, I just want to see if maybe, is this something that I'm going to deal with regularly, or maybe this is somebody else.
Have I been blacklisted?
Yeah, exactly. I was afraid I got blacklisted, and the lady on the other line, who's just a lovely human being that runs the program, could not have been nicer. And she's like, well, let's look at it. Like, did you live in Oklahoma? Yeah. Okay. Like, did you live in Utah?
Did you murder anyone in Oklahoma? Yeah.
Not that I was caught for, but no, it was some. I think there was actually a guy in Maryland. There was there's some Andrew Heaton in South Carolina who's a ne'er-do-well. So if you're in South Carolina and some guy named Andrew Heaton owes you money, that's not me. That's a different guy.
Right.
Anyway, I was at the grocery store 2 weeks ago, and I bought a bone, and I don't own a dog. And I got home, and I was like, okay, I know what this is. My brain is decided to get a dog, so I'll probably get one the next couple of weeks.
Wow, but you bought a bone first.
I bought a bone, and then I bought... I'm
not sure how I would feel if I walked into a house and someone had a bone sitting there and they didn't have a dog.
That's a good. No, not just that. I'm having game night tonight, and I have a dog bed, a plush toy, some tennis balls. It's all. I mean, it's not like scattered around like I've been playing.
You're
with
like nesting or whatever.
I think this is I assume this is my paternal instincts being funneled in a quasi healthy direction.
Yeah.
And so that's the plan. I'll get a dog. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what headline this is stemming from. Is this the Armored Tanks headline still?
It is.
Or was
the
fact
that
we're talking
somehow
about
got this into dogs just further corroborates that this is on my mind. Okay, we'll pivot over to another one. Robot newscaster unsettles Russian state TV viewers. So this is we actually covered the story for real a few months ago, where China has or maybe it's Hong Kong. I think it's China has an AI newscaster. Russia has an actual metal and silicon newscaster. that will read the news in a reasonably monotone voice. But then they cracked some joke that they wrote for it, which was like the best thing about Russian technology, or the most impressive thing about Russian technology is me. And then he gave this really creepy robot smile. Robots aren't good at smiling.
No.
Here are my thoughts on this. First of all, I don't like this because if they can replace newscasters, they're not that far away from replacing comedians. So I'm a little bit worried.
Oh, yeah.
Also feel bad for newscasters because that job needs to go to hot people. You can't give those to, what are the hot people going to do? So you got to do that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if it's a robot in Russia, you can't threaten to shoot it to make it say nice things about the government. So I don't know that a robot could really even do a good job. So I think they should have just left it in the hands of good-looking people.
Of good-looking, easily compliant people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the job of a Russian broadcaster.
Yes, exactly. So I went to a conference last week about artificial intelligence, and everyone was talking about how robots are being creative, and they're being this, and they're being that, and really the talk was that, like, well, they're going to replace the comedians. And I was like, one, that's a huge waste of money because comedians don't make any money. So if your ROI is going to be garbage.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Getting paid
second,
$15 for hosting an open mic. That's going to be what the robot's doing.
Yeah. Oh, if you think $15 is what you get for an open mic, then I'm moving to Dallas,
hosting. For hosting the open mic. Like if you're running it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Money bags over there, that's fine. No, I get a drink. I mean, can robots use drink tickets? That's another concern.
Yeah.
Is it like we plug you into the good power for a little bit? I don't know what the equivalent would be.
No,
I will also note that no one at this conference was funny. And so, the other piece of algorithms is they are originally made from humans still. And so it's like, these people shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I know that you raise an incredible. I feel much better about my job security now. Because I'm making okay money being clever with this program, but it took me a long time to get here. And I had on Arthur Brooks earlier this week, and I mentioned I feel like getting paid to be funny in any capacity. Like if you're making a living at it, is like at the bare minimum, that is the humor equivalent of being like a minor league baseball player. Like if there's a stand-up that's doing it full time, even if you've never heard of them, and they're not like living in a tool shed, they are rocking it. They're doing really well.
Well, and I mostly now think of, there was some expose, maybe that's too dramatic a word, in some newspaper, good site, Andrea, about minor league baseball players and how miserable their life is and how they're living in poverty, but they're making it work. And I was like, this is
a great
100% amazing analogy.
Yeah, this is a really good analogy. Yeah, I feel better about my job security, noting that one of my friends, he's now in L.A. He made side money for a while as a comedian, helping some AI company develop an algorithm to replace us. And I had this just kind of swell of sabotage 19th century Luddite of what the hell are you doing? Maybe we could make it through another generation. But your economic assessment's making me feel a lot better.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the last thing anyone who wants to make money should be investing in.
Yeah.
That said, suppose Siri or everything, I don't know who else there is, Alexa, suppose they all become insanely funny. Maybe life would just be better, And maybe they're funnier than us, and then we can all go back to living in our contempt of everything.
Yeah, no, that's
can you imagine every time you call and they're like, press 9 for, the operator, but it's also just hysterical? We'd call customer service all the time.
Oh my God! Now I'm rooting for the destruction of our profession. If we could make collar holding fun, that would be worth it alone.
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
What a wonderful.
Let's market that. That's
a fantastic, optimistic thing. Okay, so
that's the most optimistic thing I have ever said in my life.
Yes, I agree.
I'm sitting here with my arms crossed because I'm like, something's wrong.
There are listeners right now that just felt a verbal, mental warm blanket go over them when they thought about calling their bank or the jury line in New York or whatever, and looking forward to that experience.
Yeah. You're like, I need a little pick me up. What's an 800 number I can call?
Let me call my health insurance to see if I need to pay any of my deductible.
Yeah. You sure? Can I pay in increments so that I keep calling in?
Yeah. So on the note of science, in Japan, a science professor allegedly taught students to make ecstasy. And I believe he's going to prison, I think I read that he's going to go to prison, but he's a 61-year-old professor, and he, I guess teaching a college class, I assume if he's a professor, taught his students how to make ecstasy. I have several thoughts on this. One,
sure,
I'm fine with this. Two, I think if you are over the age of 70, you can and should
Yep.
Take whatever drugs you want. I am 100% for.
Yeah.
Like, we get into like, heroin and stuff, and like 40-year-olds. I'm like, okay, I'm fairly libertine on this, but maybe not heroin. If you're over 70, go for it. I'm not saying it's a great idea to do heroin. I'm just saying I think it should be legal for anybody over 70. And
I don't think you and I have ever agreed more strongly on anything than that. I just agreed with the last two things that you said.
Perfect. The whole point of this podcast was to get you to sign on to my presidential ticket. I don't care whether I'm VP or president. I'll take either one.
I don't care.
We'll flip a coin.
Yeah.
And that means just legalizing drugs for anyone over 70 and just see what happens.
Well, not just legaling, but encouraging.
Yeah,
I think
encouraging.
Is the key part here.
We could do a whole. I'll bring on Mike Riggs and a few other people. We could have a whole podcast on the psychotropic benefits of various substances. Which brings me to my next point. He could have done far worse things than ecstasy. I've never done ecstasy before, but from what I understand, it makes you want to hug people. That seems nice.
Yeah,
and
that could actually do a lot. And my understanding too is that the Japanese national morale could use a little boost these days.
Yeah,
so,
and they've got like a lower reproductive rate. That's kind of a thing over there. Maybe he was trying to help out. But on that note, you know what? But if he'd gone too far.
Why aren't we giving pandas ecstasy? Okay, yep.
I'm all in favor of that too. That's
have we just solved that one?
On our presidential ticket, we don't have enough pandas. Give them ecstasy. Give them Cialis. See what happens. I like that. Perfect. Great idea. Which, by the way, is what if he taught his students how to make Cialis, I'd be like, what's that guy up to? Now it's kind of shady in my mind. Is this is this a weird? Was he doing with his students, right? Or if he wanted to make like poison or some kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde potion. Like if you start thinking about the things he could have been making, I feel like ecstasy's kind of low.
Well, and ecstasy isn't that the drug that's behind the new like drops for antidepressant that you can microdose on, and everyone was all excited about? I don't know if it's legal yet, but it's a pretty established drug, and it has such a fun name. It just sounds great.
I agree.
Has this become a pro drug podcast? I'm not sure.
It's always been a pro drug podcast. This is not a new I don't know if I've covered this in detail. It's certainly not a revelation for anybody that's familiar with my stance on this. Yeah, I think with ecstasy too, it's also a thing where. If you have PTSD or you have trust issues, that it's good for working through those. So there's definitely a lot of interesting work in that field. So it's
also really good for working through a Saturday night at a bar with friends. I'm totally hypothetical.
I think I've passed that point in my life. I don't think
all right.
But
try it out at game night and you tell me.
You know what? No, I was going to say I'm just going to catch it on the flip side. When I hit 70, I'll be like, you know what? I think we're going to go to a rave. I'm going to be the coolest guy at the rave. Take that, 18-year-old kids.
Raving will become what Facebook has become, which is for old people.
Exactly.
That was a real zing on Facebook. There we go. Which, you know what? I might be the one who finally toppled the Facebook empire.
That's right.
Never mind the other privacy and ethics and hacking elections and mass murder.
The straw that breaks the camel's back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I think, that article is amazing to me, and I think that it just sounds like a funnier Breaking Bad, right? And it's
I agree.
It's set in this Japanese college, and they're making ecstasy. Like this show is writing itself.
100%.
I would want to bring Jesse back in somehow, but otherwise, I think this thing is all set.
Yeah, he could have he could have the Japanese dropout student that becomes his teaching assistant. No. I'm with you 100%. It would be a funnier, wackier version of Breaking Bad. I would totally watch that.
Yeah. Anytime you see like a severed head or someone is like dissolved in a bucket, sorry if that was a spoiler, you just have people like descend into giggles and group hugs, and it's.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah,
we could kind of probably with the right AI just redo the existing show.
Right. That actually brings me to the next story. So this is over in China. Game of Thrones viewer in China begged for sex and violence to not be censored in final season. Now, you and Turner, who's also a frequent guest on the program, have both lived over in China. It's my understanding that they will frequently censor a lot of homosexuality, a lot of violence, and a lot of sexuality. Sometimes it makes some films like the Freddie Mercury biopic become kind of nonsensical. I would assume were you to watch Brokeback Mountain, it would be very difficult to piece together the plot because it would just be a couple of cowboys actually being cowboys and doing nothing else.
It was just sort of like a mountaineering documentary.
Yeah. It's just it's just B-roll of cowboys walking around. That's it.
Yeah. Which more or less is, I think, what Chinese people think American life is like anyway. So it's not, it's consistent with the natural, and look, it's flattering for us in that case.
Yeah, no, I'm flattered by that. Great. My thing, I think that they should let them have unadulterated footage of Game of Thrones. I think they should. Here's what I want to have happen, though. I want us to have even more violent and sexual Game of Thrones over here in America. So I want them to take the existing footage they have, and then I want them to, fake
ramp it up.
Yeah, like fake app Gladiator, and then fake app some softcore porn, and just drop it in. That way, we're still getting like the most premium, hot, violent show possible.
Right. Can Jon Snow be like delivering a pizza and then turn out to be a secret lover? I mean, are we going full?
Yeah, I like that. That's good. And then
everyone's like,
is this
what's
a Philip K. Dick
cardboard?
novel? What is this? This is getting like the reality is really bending out of shape with this one. Yeah.
Like we realized that there are White Walkers, but we're confused about this melted cheese situation.
Yeah. No, I'm all in favor of this. Yeah. Are you watching Game of Thrones?
Oh yes, I am indeed. Yeah. I have watched the entire series because I have no, life is the word I'm looking for. I've watched the entire series 3 times, and I'm listening to it on tape. I was like very against it, and then I started watching it, and then much like Ecstasy, I could not stop.
That's, and my mom was very against it initially.
I watch it exclusively on Ecstasy, if I haven't made that clear.
Exactly. My mom didn't like it when it first came out because she thought it was very violent and sexual, and I made
she should watch the Chinese version.
Yeah, watch the Chinese version, exactly. Well, just no problem.
Yeah.
I made the case that I think Game of Thrones is actually even though there's dragons in it, I think it is the most accurate representation of what culture and psychology was like in pre-Norman England. And if you look at it like that, it was just this horrible thing where, like, if your town got invaded, they'd rape and kill everyone, and
everyone was like, "Yep, that's what happens."
Yep. And everyone's just like, "Yeah," like it's a gruff, angry, hyper-masculine, misogynist, violent culture, and it's not a good thing. It's just how it was, and I feel like Game of Thrones is actually pretty good for elucidating that feeling.
Well, and on the benefit side, you get to use the word holdfast a lot more.
That's true. You do.
So it's there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
No, I was with my parents on Monday night. I saw them, and they don't watch Game of Thrones, and it obviously had just happened here, and I was talking about it, and they were like, "But why should we watch it? It's all this violence. It's all this." And I was like, "No, it's amazing." And I was like, "It's only a little bit of fantasy," which is any sentence that starts with that is not going to end with anything interesting. And I talked, and then their response was, "We need to get to bed." So I didn't sell it very well.
Yeah.
And I put my mother to sleep by describing it. But I'll send her your take on it.
Let her know that I'm making an impassioned pitch in favor of pre-Norman conquest, which I think it is. It's it's a bunch of kingdoms, and then they have an invader come in. I guess the invader is the Norman conquest, right? So what is that? Eon the Conqueror or whatever. But it maps. I'm saying it maps. The call is like the Khan. He's a Mongol. There's a lot of parallels. He's not making it all up. He's doing a lot of historical leaning. And
a lot of people do confuse it with history altogether,
which will probably eventually combine. And I'll have to explain to grandkids that we didn't actually fight Aegon the Conqueror or whatever. But maybe by that point, I'll be at a rave, and I won't care anyway. I'll be hanging out.
And there will be big walls everywhere.
Could be. Andrea, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We keep these episodes a little bit shorter since it's a commute. I had so much fun. Thank you for coming on and showing the audience that you are not only brilliant and insightful, but also delightful and funny. And
I don't know that I showed any of those things, but I'm happy to contribute in some way.
At the very least, the sting operation for the New York jury pool will be glad that you came on.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, they're going to find me now.
Yep. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
A little bit of listener feedback before we cap off the week. On iTunes, One Swordfish One says, Prairie Home Companion plus Star Wars / libertarian politics equals very amusing. You, sir, deserve the Field Prize in math? I don't know. I like your review, and the math is just perfect, so thank you. You can watch this whole show on YouTube. It's true. If you look for Something's Off with Andrew Heaton, you can see my handsome bearded face and assortments of suits and or waistcoats and the dead bison we screwed onto the wall. Sometimes it might be wearing a bowler hat. You don't know unless you're watching. Watching Something's Off with Andrew Heaton on your computer will make you seem more sophisticated and amusing. That way you don't have to keep being the one who brings hard drugs to parties just so people will like you. That was very prescient, Jennings. I didn't tell him we were going to talk about ecstasy and whatnot. I think that's like a medium drug. I'm not really sure. But in any event, Jennings, Heaton, and Andrea were all on the same wavelength. That's how Friday's going. So go to YouTube and start watching full episodes. I look like the thinking man's drunk. Remember, you can always tweet me at Mighty Heaton or Facebook me at facebook.com/Mighty Heaton, or even email me by subscribing to my newsletter at mightyheaton.com and just replying when I send it out on Fridays or when I send you a confirmation email. Either way. Finally, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. That helps other people discover things like snot otters and the sporting jousting of Maryland. and, of course, this here political orphanage. Thank you, and have a good weekend.